Ah, yes, we're ready to get spooky here on a Thursday. This is a photo, well, these photos captured by guests on a haunted walking tour of Portland. We'll also have some advice on where you can hunt for ghosts in Vancouver. And as we come out here to our scary studio right now, yes, we are in the dark as we get ready to hunt for ghosts. We even have some ghost hunting equipment brought in by David Shargle, the president of Portland Walking Tours, because, you know, guys, you really never know when a spirit might be among you. Yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna
be
That scare you?
That scared me more than Drew, and I knew it was coming.
You knew it was coming? Did you know it was coming?
I did. That's why I'm like, why are you scaring me?
Did you know it was coming?
I even delivered the line to cue her to go and try to scare you.
I got sweaty palms here. That was not good. All right, all right.
So is that the kind of thing that happens on your walking tour, David?
Wouldn't it be great? No,
the
tours themselves are not like a boo, we're going to scare you kind of thing. It's more of an investigation and walk around some known haunted places in Portland to try to see what's real, what's not real. That wasn't real, was it?
No.
Okay, all right.
I don't know. What does your equipment show?
It was a real person underneath that sheet.
Now, you talked about some of the most haunted places in Portland. The tour covers about 1.25 miles. You start at Old Town.
Yes.
So what are some of these stops you make along the way?
So we begin above the old Shanghai Tunnels, and then we eventually go down below and get to show people, well, not necessarily the Shanghai Tunnels themselves, but get to show off there's a haunted spirit down there named Nina. But we walk around the Old Town, Chinatown area, eventually making our way to known places like Hoodoo Antiques has an object that is haunted there. There's Dan and Lewis Oyster Bar that has a haunted steering wheel from an old clipper ship.
What do you mean by haunted objects? Like, how is a steering wheel itself haunted? It moves?
So it doesn't move. There are 7 different types of hauntings, and I don't know if you've ever seen those TV shows like Ghostbusters or those types of shows where they talk about like, oh, that's a type 2 haunting, we got it on camera kind of thing. It's like we try to break down what are the 7 hauntings, what do they do, what is an object haunting. Like if you go onto eBay, don't type in object haunting because you'll see like all these like wedding rings that are for sale that they people have impressions that they put into the rings. There's also residual hauntings and poltergeists, but we try to break it all down during the tour. So.
Well, maybe you could walk us through some pictures here. This was taken by one of your guests on a tour. What is this showing?
Yes. So this is where we believe is the old Native American burial grounds. Today, as you can see, it's a parking lot. And a very exciting parking lot.
Yes.
And that is actually called a Paranormal Vortex. No one can actually explain what that photo is. And I know this is not a doctored photo. But it's an unexplained mystery, this particular photo. This was actually taken by a guest on the tour, and they sent it in to us. That particular night, this was last February, there was a lot of activity in the parking lot. We hand out ghost hunting equipment during the tour, and some of the meters started just going off, and then somebody snapped it.
You know,
onto that next photo there.
I just want to point out, if that light stays there for more than 2 days, it will get a ticket.
Yeah.
What about this one here, David? What are we seeing?
So that is commonly referred to as an orb. Now, orbs are considered to be manifestations of energy. Sometimes when you ever hear people talking about where all of a sudden they had a cold spot and all of a sudden it was like the energy gets sucked out of the air, you can actually put your hand into a spot like that and actually feel cold only in that one area. And somebody snapped that photo. Now, that could also be, to be a little skeptical about this, that could be a piece of dust in there, but it stayed there, and a couple of other people.
And it's right over one. Is that a child underneath? That's not a ghost, right?
It's in front. This is.
I see tennis shoes, so I hope not.
Is it weird that the orb is wearing a flannel shirt? Am I not looking at
Oh,
the
it's
right
Portland.
object?
Come on.
David, can we talk about a few of the items people get to use on these tours? You brought a few into the studio here.
Yes. So this is called an electromagnetic field meter. This is something that everybody, EMF, exactly. Everybody on the tour gets a chance to wield this along the way. And we talk about some of the basic equipment, like people have to have two-way radios, bring cameras, thermometers to measure those cold spots. There's also some advanced equipment like voice recorders. We don't actually use that on the tour, but a lot of people will try to capture electronic voice phenomena.
But the people on the tours are using flashlights, or not necessarily?
No.
They're holding any of that equipment, or not necessarily? That's in the guide's hands?
So no. So some of this equipment is in the guide's hands, but everybody does get a chance to actually use these meters, and we break down what it does and what it doesn't do. Just don't point it at Drew over here, because it'll, it determines. This is trying to find specifically what type of electromagnetic. Well, in the studio here, it's going to be going off pretty rapidly, but it's trying to actually find fluctuations in a magnetic field in front of us. dangerous. They say that when spirits appear, they will actually need to take their energy from somewhere in order to manifest themselves. And that type of manifestation will quite often turn lights on and off, produce cold spots and these types of meters, as long as you don't point them at light switches or, electromagnetic equipment, will actually start flickering. And then we sit down and we say, what is that that's happening there? You tell people, don't point at the light switch, don't point it at electrical boxes,
right.
because then you're going to get that kind of spook,
Well, let's talk about when these tours happen. So right now they're happening just on weekends, David, and then when do you go to daily tours?
So they are daily now in October.
Oh, they are daily.
Yes, every
All
day
month.
at 6 p.m. and at 9 p.m. And the 6 p.m. is all ages, while the 9 p.m. is for adults only. They get a chance to not have to watch their language, I guess.
And PortlandWalkingTours.com is
They see the
website.
partially
That's exactly
closed
it.
Yeah, exactly. David, thank you so much. That was
Thank you
fun.
very much for having me.